On August 17, 2002, Tanya Streeter left on a mission that challenged the laws of material science and human perseverance. She snatched a strong metal sled, pulled a critical pin, and started her drop into the puzzling profundities of the sea, stretching the boundaries of human investigation. A simple 35 seconds into her thinking, for even a moment to plunge. She had previously arrived at a bewildering profundity of 166 feet underneath the surface. Envision the tension down there. It's like having multiple times the pneumatic stress we have ashore. Many accept this was pretty much as profound as a human could go. However, Tanya was not entirely settled to discredit them. Tanya's inconceivable achievement wasn't simply karma. It was on the grounds that she knew a ton about how the human body can deal with predicaments. As she went further submerged, her body did something astonishing to manage serious areas of strength. For it gradually filled her lungs with an extraordinary fluid called plasma, which helped her handle the intense circumstances. Likewise, Tanya had prepared for quite a long time to plan for this plunge. It resembles being a competitor for remote ocean investigation anyway. As Tanya proceeded with her plummet into the deep hug of the sea, something unforeseen and extremely frightening occurred in the wake of jumping for 114 seconds. She arrived at a profundity of 360 feet, and right at this significant second, something truly stressing happened on a superficial level. Not long before she plunged, she coincidentally took an additional breath, and her lungs got too large, which put a lot of squeeze on her heart, and she passed out. Unbeknownst to her, she had just 80% of the air. Important to change appropriately to such a profound profundity. It was what was happening, and time was running out. Following a heart-beating 2-minute plummet, Tanya accomplished her definitive objective, a stunning profundity of 525 feet. Here, toward the finish of the link, she was confronted with a progression of crucial advances that would eventually determine the end result of her nervy plunge. To return to the surface, she needed to perform 3 stages. 1. Get the lift sack. 2. Open the valve delivering air into the lift pack. 3. Pull the start to deliver the lift pack to the surface. The climate was loaded up with strain. As she carefully executed each step, she wrestled with the lift sack, handily opened that valve, and prepared herself to deliver it toward the surface. Yet right when triumph appeared to be inside her grip, a guileful power interceded. Nitrogen narcosis. Throughout a heart-halting 17 seconds, Tanya wound up bumbling with the sled, her considerations wavering between the frantic battle and the dismay of her loved ones grieving her potential misfortune. Yet in a happy spot of destiny, she made sure to pull the trigger and set out on a heart-dashing climb to the surface. With this mind-blowing accomplishment, Tanya Streeter arose victorious, as well as scratched her name into the chronicles of jumping history by establishing another worldwide best for no restriction plunging, breaking the past record of 427 feet, which had been laid out in 2001 by Audrey Mestre. However, right when you figured the profundities of human assurance couldn't be driven any further, only a couple of months after the fact, Audrey would endeavor to recover that record in a jump that would end in a terrible misfortune brought into the world on August 11, 1974. In Paris, Audrey's enthusiasm for the sea started at an early age. At 2 years old, she won a gold decoration in a 25-meter swimming rivalry, and at 13 years old, she ventured out into scuba, plunging anyway her life veered off in a strange direction. At 14, while entanglements emerging from typhoid fever prompted the improvement of scoliosis in her back. To deal with this condition, she was expected to wear a prohibitive plastic undergarment for a very long time. The main time she felt really liberated from this weighty thing was the point at which she took it off to swim. So as she grew up, she invested increasingly more energy in the water, since that is where she felt the most joyful and most agreeable. The sea turned into Audrey's jungle gym, and after her family migrated to Mexico, Audrey's enthusiasm for the sea drove her to La Paz, where she sought after a degree in sea life science during her college years while dealing with an exploration paper about the human body's reaction to remote ocean-free jumping. She became enamored by the unbelievable Francisco Pipin I Ferreras. Pipin was a sensation in the plunging scene, known for his record-breaking plunges, fantastic breath-holding capacities, and immovable serious soul. His process began early in life, set apart by the test of disfigured feet, asthma, and unfortunate visual perception. Anyway, these constraints appear to disappear when he lowered himself in the water, as he had figured out how to swim even before he could walk. Water turned into his sanctuary, a spot where he flourished notwithstanding his actual limits. In 1996, Audrey was chasing after her examinations in La Paz. Pipin planned a free-jumping endeavor in the close-by waters of Cabo San Lucas, which introduced a chance for Audrey to meet with him for her exploration paper. As they hung out, Audrey and Pipin found wonderful equals in their lives that fashioned a profound association among them, and their affection bloomed rapidly. Audrey and Pipin turned into one another's main inspirations, both in their heartfelt excursion and their quest for plunging records. In 1999, they wedded, and rapidly, the two turned into a normal record-breaking couple in the game of freediving, splitting people's records between them in the realm of free plunging. The IDA set severe security principles anyway. Pipin, feeling these standards were excessively prohibitive, chosen to assume control over issues. He laid out his own special administrative body, known as the Global Relationship of Free Jumpers. In the year 2000, Pipin made a thinking for even a second to endeavor to plunge to a profundity of 535 feet. Anyway, he encountered a power outage during the climb, delivering his record-breaking jump. Invalid, unflinching, Pipin turned his concentration to Audrey, pushing her to accomplish more noteworthy profundities. Audrey stretched herself to the edge, and regardless of encountering a power outage subsequent to re-emerging as per Pipin and IAFT rules, Audrey set another worldwide best by plunging 410 feet off the shoreline of Stronghold Lauderdale. And simply a year after the fact, she did something extraordinary, plunging to 427 feet. Anyway, a year after the fact, in 2002, Tanya Streeter broke Audrey's past record of 427 feet, yet Tanya didn't break it. She set another standard by a stunning 100 feet, arriving at a shocking profundity of 525 feet. This wonderful accomplishment put huge squeeze in Audrey's group, and they wanted to accelerate their preparation and plunge designs so they could attempt to win back the record that they had lost. However, it would before long become clear that moving the jump to a prior date had a few serious outcomes. On October 9, 2002, Audrey plummeted to a profundity of 558 feet during a training plunge. As of now, they accepted Audrey could break the no-restrictions free plunging world record by plunging to 561 feet on a solitary breath of air. Anyway, she wasn't feeling great. She and Pipin were continually contending, and there were bits of gossip that Audrey intended to separate Pipin after the jump. On the genuine day of the record endeavor, Audrey segregated herself from everybody. She didn't need anybody close to the jump gear. Pipin was apprehensive and wouldn't permit anybody to check the tank for the return pack. This is the sort of thing that ought to be twofold and triple really looked at by various individuals before any jump. Another issue was the absence of remote ocean jumpers. A few security jumpers couldn't make it, leaving a huge hole in the help group, particularly at extraordinary profundities. One key well-being jumper had unfortunately lost his life in a cavern plunging mishap. He should be the help jumper at 427 feet, which was a basic job. While there were a lot of surface jumpers, the critical remote ocean jumpers who could uphold Audrey at outrageous profundities hadn't been supplanted. There were simply two profound jumpers. To give you some viewpoint, during Tanya Streeter's reality record plunge, there were 16 jumpers. One of the security jumpers accessible for Audrey was at 262 feet, and one more was at the all-out profundity of 564 feet. There ought to have been something like another jumper at 427 feet to guarantee well-being and coordination between the jumpers. Without this help, the lower jumper couldn't genuinely arrive at the jumper above without taking a chance with decompression disorder, which is extremely perilous anyway. It's urgent to take note of that. This jump was led under the IF which was made by Pipin to sidestep the well-being rules of the IDA. In spite of the clear dangers implied, Pipina demonstrated the jump and Audrey started her drop. Taking a full breath, she grasped a weighted sled associated with a link which would convey her down to her objective profundity of 561 feet, the level of the Washington landmark, or almost the length of 2 football handles. The arrangement was for her to arrive at that profundity shortly, where she would then blow up an inflatable to work with. Her climb to the surface during the plunge, despite the fact that everything appeared to be going flawlessly on a superficial level, there was a fundamental sensation of disquiet among the group. Pascal Burnaby, the subsequent jumper situated at 564 feet, since that something was off base. As the sled moved along the plunge link, Burnaby saw that the link wasn't acting as it should. Audrey arrived at the finish of the link at 2 minutes and 22 seconds into the plunge at a profundity of 561 feet here. She expected to perform 3 pivotal advances: first, get the lift, pack; second, open the valve, and third, pull the trigger. Sadly, when she endeavored these significant advances, they didn't yield the normal outcomes, escalating the weightiness of the circumstance. Burnaby, the profound jumper, swam over to Audrey and added air to the lift pack, like a submerged inflatable trying to help her climb. Anyway, the sack didn't rise quickly enough because of lacking expansion, and he was unable to go with her to the surface. Audrey's climb was extremely sluggish, and it became clear that she wouldn't arrive at the surface in time for a protected recuperation. The shortfall of a jumper at 427 feet turned into a basic issue right now. Such a jumper might have given fundamental help. Sadly, there was nobody at that profundity to help Audrey in her snapshot of need. As minutes passed, the subsequent jumper situated at 262 feet actually hadn't seen Audrey on a superficial level. Pipin's frantic sobs for scuba gear consumed the space. Valuable minutes ticked away as the world paused its breathing after one more moment of serious desperation. He at long last got prepared and entered the water by the brief imprint. Burnaby found Audrey, who had floated and shut down at a profundity of 394 feet. He got her and started climbing as quickly as he could, a hazardous move that put his own life at risk. He brought her up to a profundity of 295 feet at 4 minutes and 40 seconds. The lift pack surfaced without Audrey. It was as of now that everybody on a superficial level understood that something had turned out badly. Pipin bird down to recover Audrey, meeting Burnaby at 295 feet, and both rose quickly. Pipin took this considering jumping to 295 feet on air, and his rising rate was as quick as he might actually oversee. Pipin had grappled with the likelihood that this salvage mission could cost him his life, yet not entirely settled to save Audrey. After arriving at the surface, Pipin quickly started doing mouth-to-mouth while still in the water. When they at last figured out how to get Audrey onto the boat, they direly required a specialist. Anyway, the specialist who showed up was not prepared for the difficult states of remote ocean plunging crises. He was a dental specialist and could do essentially nothing to help. As of now, Audrey actually had a heartbeat. Audrey was hurried to the shore for assessment. However, unfortunately, she was articulated dead. She kicked the bucket at 28 years old. Strikingly, there was basically no resulting examination concerning the occurrence in the Dominican Republic. It's a necessity for the family to officially demand an examination, which neither Pipin nor Audrey's family did. By the by, there were various reports and hypotheses circling about what had occurred in the prompt consequence of the misfortune. the web was loaded up with allegations against Pipin, with numerous guessing that he had killed his cherished spouse anyway. The individuals who realized them well emphatically contradicted these allegations. They were sure that Pipin couldn't have ever intentionally hurt Audrey. Strangely, the subsequent jumper, situated at 262 feet, accepted that Pipin could have been attempting to cause what is happening, that seemed as though a mishap, and afterward save Audrey, so individuals would think he was a legend after evaluating the sensor information and taking apart the occasions of that pivotal day. Clearly numerous significant things had turned out badly, which at last brought about the shocking result. An examination uncovered that the decision of a lighter link, intended to make the jump smoother by lessening rubbing, really compounded the situation. This lighter link moved around a lot in view of the submerged flows, making Audrey's climb be over and over hindered. At a profundity of 538 feet, it unexpectedly halted for a frightening 30 seconds, making what is happening significantly more perilous. Furthermore, there were issues with a harmed part called a bushing, which had been broken during a training plunge, and a few additional parts called wings on the sled that were intended to prevent it from turning, yet wound up causing more contact during the rising. Regardless of this multitude of issues, the greatest issue was that there wasn't sufficient air to fill the plunge pack and bring Audrey securely back up to the surface. These discoveries recommend that Pipin presumably didn't want to accomplish something wrong deliberately. Anyway, it brings up issues about conceivable carelessness with respect to Pipin and maybe a few individuals from the team. Shockingly, there was not official examination, and nobody was blamed or charged for what occurred in this grievous occasion. Audrey Mestre was granted an EFT record post-mortem in view of a training jump she finished on the 9th of October. With that plunge, she broke her better half's past, no restrictions plunge world record of 531.5 feet that he set in January of 2000. In 2002, Audrey Mestre was accepted post-mortem into the ladies' jumpers lobby of popularity. Pipin's last exceptional plunge was to 561 feet in 2003. He wouldn't go any more profound at the time, as he simply needed to match Audrey's last and most profound make-a plunge distinction of her memory. After over 10 years, no lady has beaten Tanya Streeter's record. Maybe the one in particular who might have done it was Audrey Wrecked, yet she is gone. She lived. Would she have continued to attempt to go further?